Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beer with the Boss. Podcast where a guy and his boss have a beer after a long day of work, talk about technology, DevOps, business, and whatever is trending out there. I'm Rodrigo Matos.
And I'm Joe Zamboni. And today we have a special episode. We are in the field. We are in the Leesburg Airport to talk with a special guest. But before we start, Rodrigo, what are you drinking?
Joel, seems to be like a new tradition for us, like not drinking what the name of our podcast says we're going to drink. So I'm drinking sparkly water, just regular sparkling water, nothing special. How about you?
Are you doing the 4 a.m. Saratoga washing also? Think you're
I
drinking
did this. Yeah, I
sparkling.
did this morning. Yeah, I did this
Oh
morning.
my
Then
God.
yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I didn't.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
drinking water too, Costco water. So,
Costco. Okay.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
I've heard
but
good things about it.
let's introduce our guest. Welcome, Dean. How are you?
Thank you. Great to be here. I appreciate it.
I will ask Dean to introduce himself, but what I can tell about Dean is an entrepreneur of like 30 plus years of experience in operations and engineering. He's a pilot as well, and he's the founder of Amelia Air. What is Amelia Air? We're going to find out in just a minute. This is the topic of our episode today. But Dean, did I forget anything? I know that you are a multi-project person.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to say it as a title of what I am as an entrepreneur. I think that's pretty accurate. I love working on different projects. I don't know if that's an ADHD thing or just I like doing different things and have a lot of different interests, but it's true. I like to fly. I like animals. I love dogs and cats, and I love ketchup and I'm drinking Pure Life today.
It's gonna be
Another
lucky.
water. So
Awesome.
yeah, I like technology. Actually, sometimes I hate it, and I love working with people who are smart. So I'm just all over the place in different projects.
Yeah, one interesting curiosity about Dean is that in a month, quite different than both of us, Rodrigo. He's gonna make 40 years that he doesn't drink, which is awesome. We had people in the podcast already that did never drink, so we are more than the idea, as we
Yeah.
talked the other day, is more like about the mythical moment on the end of the day of talking in a bar than exactly drinking.
Yeah. I want to ask you guys, and especially you, Dean, why are you guys at Leesburg Airport, and what is Amelia Air? We announced you as founder of Amelia Air, and that you're also a pilot. So can you explain to us in our audience what Amelia Air is?
Sure. My wife and I have done a lot of rescue work and animal saving and been considering abuses and problems with animal overpopulation in the United States. So we started this project in 2019 as the mission is to end euthanasia in the United States of all pets. Part of that is very quick response to animals that are stuck in shelters that allow euthanasia, and it happens a lot. There's well over 1 million animals killed every year because there's no room for them, and I just find that unconscionable. And I find that I can do something about it. It's a mechanism to give back. It's a mechanism for me to embrace my service-centric leader mentality, which I very much like. So we have 4 parts. We call them 4 legs of our mission because sure, animals need to be rescued immediately when they're on death row, as we call it, if they're in a kill shelter and there's no room for them. There's spay and neuter problems. So lots of animals and lots of households don't have the resources to spay or neuter their animals, so they populate out of control. We offer free spay and neutering to anybody who needs it. We also have an education component, why it's bad for society, why it's bad for animals, why it's bad for people, why it's bad for the economy to euthanize. So we do educational outreach to different folks in the United States. And fourth is legislation. We are getting into the project of helping to encourage cities, counties, states to reduce euthanasia in the United States, starting with their city, county, or state. So that's our mission, is to end euthanasia in the United States.
That's absolutely amazing, Dean. And I guess my follow up question is: the idea is amazing, the mission is even better. It's beautifully amazing. But how did the idea take off? How was the first like rescue? And can you like take us
Sure,
back.
I can expound on that a bit. My wife and I have been doing animal rescue, and I've been doing animal rescue for 20 years, having been involved with another group called Pilots and Paws. Pilots love to fly. We're just freaks, you know. When I'm here, Joel has seen it multiple times before. I think you've seen it when we've been on conference calls. I'll be sitting out here at the airport in my hangar. It's not the most clean or pleasant place to be. There's no carpeting. There's no air conditioning or heating. There's no refrigerator, which is also kind of the point. And yet, I love being here. I love planes. I'm sitting out here watching airplanes go by, taxi by. So pilots are often just freakishly concerned with being around airplanes and other pilots. So we're always looking for reasons, legitimate reasons to fly or be around airplanes. And rescuing animals is pretty legitimate reason to fly an airplane. The problem we encountered was a lot of pilots are asked to fly one or maybe two animals at a time. This airplane has 6 seats. We can fit 15 crates in it, no problem. And it seems like a real waste. And when we started looking at the numbers of animals that are euthanized, we thought, geez, we can't make as much of an impact as we'd like to. So there's no other organization that does what we do, or there wasn't at the time. So we started one. Doing something that we love to do, finding a gap, a flaw, a problem, and saying, I think I can fix that. Let's try something different. Nobody does this. So we tried.
I remember because of the distance, there was something also related to driving. Get a truck from Florida would be bad for the animals also, right? So the plane solves this problem.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you have day old or a few day old or a couple week old puppies, they're not that resilient, right? They're not that tough. And if you have to put them in a truck and drive them for 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 hours from Texas up to Maine or New York. That's a horrifically challenging, difficult trip for young animals or for older animals. So there are real legitimate reasons that a faster mode of transport like an airplane works really well. It solves another niche of that problem.
That's awesome, Dean. A curious question that came to my mind now. I know you for a while. I think I know the answer for this question, but I'm not sure. Where does the name Amelia come from?
Sure. So my wife and I rescued a Great Dane 10 years ago or so. She was down in Southern Virginia. We got a call from a woman who said, "Hey, I know you've been looking at Great Danes. There's one that's come up as an owner's voluntary surrender. They had two Great Danes and they just couldn't manage them anymore. They were so big, they're very large animals, they're extremely large animals, and we need to help. Do you have time? Do you have an interest in adopting this Dane?" So we did. And what we did is we flew this plane down to Southern Virginia. And Amelia, when we met her and decided to take her, she just jumped right onto the wing and into the plane. So we thought, wow, she is adventurous. She's maybe got an interest in flying and aviation. When my wife and our three kids and I started looking at names and trying to decide, that homage to Amelia Earhart came to mind, and we named her Amelia. And subsequently, when we decided to start this organization, Amelia Air was a nice play on words. And it's funny because uh, there's so many puns in the animal rescue world. I mean, we call our passengers passengers. There's an enormous number of puns that happen and that people just love when they're talking about animal rescue. So it works. The double entendre,
Yeah.
triple entendre kind of mode of Amelia Air as part of the mission or the name.
Yeah, that's like pet. Whoever loves pets loves puns, and that's in every language because in Portuguese as well. I have so
Interesting. I didn't
many
know that.
puns. Yeah, so many puns related to dogs and pets in general. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's awesome thing, Joel. And what do you think of a millionaire? Have you met Amelia? Like I've met Amelia like through video calls, of course, but I guess Joe have met her in person, right, Joe?
Oh yeah, I met her a few times, including one when I went to get Dean from the airport because he couldn't land here. And my wife still fights with me to the date because of how much fur left. But she's awesome. I mean, she's an adorable dog. She's
She's lovely. Yeah.
huge. I have pictures of her. It's like she's huge. She's like I think almost my height, and I am not a small guy. If of course she stands, right? She's huge. Very
Gentle.
yeah, I don't think she feels threatened in any way or form right now. She might have a rough life, but now she's happy. She's a happy dog.
That's good.
Yeah, they're well
And
known as gentle giants. That's the nickname for Great Danes.
and Dean, we're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about like business. Flying a plane is not cheap. How does Amelia Air like function? Talking about business, is like do you have investors, partners, sponsors? How does it work?
So we are a nonprofit organization under the umbrella of a fiscal sponsor, which allows us to focus on our mission, and they focus on tax compliance, financial compliance, all the rules that a nonprofit has to adhere to so that we can focus on our mission. We much prefer that mechanism. We raise money mostly through social media. There's a lot of folks out there that when we post social media on Instagram, on Facebook, and coming up on YouTube, and some on LinkedIn, we find they are interested in helping. Occasionally we get we have been interviewed on TV. We have had interviews in newspapers, on radio, I believe, once. And getting the word out there, it's a lovely mission that crosses basically all boundaries. I mean, there's no gender preference for animals, there's no political affiliation preference, there's no religious affiliation preference for animals. It's just, if you're human, very, very large numbers of people love animals, and we love them too. And folks that help are rewarded by seeing the animals that we are saving week in and week out. And you asked two questions there: how do we function, and a bit about how do we raise money, how are we funded. The funding has come a bit slowly, and it's also slower than we would like, because we are expanding our mission dramatically into very expensive ways of conducting business in legislation, right? And education. So those are very challenging missions to fund. And because we're a nonprofit, nobody's investing in us, right? They don't get any equity. They cannot. So we are left with interesting, challenging ways to bring in money, but we do. It's kind of fun. People see us. For example, a year ago, somebody reached out from the local Lamborghini dealership and said, "Hey, we like animals. We would love to help raise money for your cause." A Lamborghini is not a vehicle that's traditionally associated with animals, right? I mean, you've got Subaru, and is well known for their love of animals, and it's kind of a brand thing that they've latched onto. Great. It's not Lamborghini, but we've had a great fundraiser last year. We're doing another one in a month at the Lamborghini dealership. So people from all walks of life, even owners of Lamborghinis, want to help animals and love animals. So
That would be fun. Amelia inside a Lamborghini.
it might be interesting. I'm not sure who would let
Somebody
us
want
do
to ask
that.
them to take a picture of Amelia inside a Lambo.
Yeah.
Probably just a half of it.
Has to be a pretty wide angle lens.
Yeah. The driver will not fit for sure.
Right.
And
Yeah. So,
Dean, yeah, was there a moment that you thought, man, maybe it's not gonna work?
that's an interesting question, because in reality, no. In my emotional thinking, yes, many times. Um, My mom was the first one to invest, or actually donate, who gave us the money to start the process of having the 501(c)(3) designation. And so she's somewhat biased. I think she probably thinks I can do no wrong, which is not true. And yet the money just kept coming in, and we only grew very incrementally. We always knew that we had to be very efficient with our money, because it's other people's money, right? They are donating it in order for us to do good, right? In order for us to save animals, to reduce the euthanasia in the United States. And flying airplanes, like you said, is not cheap. So we had to be mindful of how much money we spent. And so we created a metric of, we should be spending $100 per animal that we save. or less. So when we're flying, yes, that's a metric that we use. When we're doing free spay neuter clinics, it's not free for a veterinarian to rent out an OR suite and spend their day not getting revenue from their day job and using the tools and getting the medications and the bandages and all those things. Somebody has to pay for that. We pay for that. So when they donate their time, we pay them a stipend. We provide the rental of the facility. We do all those things, and that goes into our calculation of $100 per animal. So it's very important for us to have those metrics for success so that when we go over them, we know we're doing something wrong now. We shouldn't do this because we can't have as much of an impact as we want unless we hit or exceed that goal.
Yeah, I think there is some metric also. I remember you discussing this about the size of the plane and the distance, because some distances you can only make with bigger planes that will make the fuel efficient enough to be under that metric, right? I remember those.
Exactly. Right. There's a number of calculations. And funny enough, I mean, just as a geeky entrepreneur and mostly just a geek, I tend to think of ways to solve problems using whatever is available to me. And right now, the AI revolution, if you will, is very helpful. We've been thinking about ways to use AI to create better, more efficient ways of transporting animals, of getting and finding and hiring veterinarians in certain areas of the country where they're most needed. And there's a lot of things that I could spend an enormous amount of time researching and reading about and talking to different people, or I just use AI and it helps me very quickly hone in on sort of a thought of what I need to do, where I need to focus, who I need to call, and how to most ideally pack animals into planes or into veterinary clinics, or that soon coming up as we move into our legislation mission, who to target in Congress and the Senate and the House. So very useful tools to embrace, all tools as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, the nice thing about AI so far is that they don't have intention, right? We have the intention. We want something. So as AI grows, it still doesn't have like I wanted to do, because when they have intention, we are fuck it. But so
We
far
may
they
be. Let's hope not. Let's hope they like animals as much as we do.
then we'll be the animals in this case.
We may indeed.
So yeah, I think it's a good thing to use AI for anything that you do, right? Because then we can have more things happening, right?
Yeah. It's a real force multiplier for
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, in my estimation. It's just wonderful to create quickly, to iterate quickly, to hone in on very quickly the problems, and nowadays the solutions too. Love it.
I saw a meme today that was well, in the future when the AI takes over, and then there was this guy that they were like, no, 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 leave him alone. He always said thank you to Chat GPT. So, and
And
Dean, yeah,
there is
sorry, go ahead.
a thing about this. There is when you ask please and thank, the next answer ends up being better because they are trained on
They're
our
trained.
speak. So yeah,
Yeah,
so it's not something related to them, but it's not about them, it's about us. And how about you, Rodrigo? You have pets too?
I have two dogs. There are two rescue dogs as well. We have like this big problem in Brazil with dogs being abandoned, and yeah, it's a big thing. And yeah, I rescued two dogs. One is 9. He's a boy called Teddy. He is the Brazilian like national dog. We call it like the
We call
caramel.
Caramelo.
Yeah, caramel
Caramelo.
dog. And I have another
They
one
survive
that
everything.
they survive everything. And yeah, he's gonna live like 20 plus years, I'm sure. And we have another one. She's smaller. She's also a stray dog, but she has some terrier on her because yeah, she has the fluffiness of the terrier. She's called Mika. Yeah, my two dogs. How about you, Joe?
Awesome.
You have pets as
I
well,
raise
right?
a glass to you. Cheers for rescuing animals. That's
Cheers.
fantastic.
Yes.
Mm, that's cool.
Joe, you have one dog as well, right? So far.
Yeah, but that my wasn't rescue. The 3 kids want a dog, a small dog, so they can grow with them. So we end up getting one. But we didn't buy from like a
Puppy mill.
yeah. We bought from a family, like a
Oh,
family had few dogs, and then
that's when you
even
say we didn't rescue the dog, but the dog kind of rescued us, right?
it's true. It's true. And so we found the dogs, like for the family that was selling the dogs, and then like her sister also lives with a friend of us, so they go visit each other. It's like we still communicate with the family, send pictures, they send pictures of the mom and dad, because it's still have this relation because they're not their business. They just had too many.
That's interesting
Yeah.
because my first dog, when we rescue him, so it was from this like it's a very big NGO, a very big organization back where I'm from. They were very famous. Unfortunately, they had to close doors the last like few years because they had no funding. I've just heard about that like a few weeks ago, and we were with my dog in one of those like in a park, and all of a sudden I saw a dog just like him. It looked exactly the same, had the exact same like fears and traumas apparently. And I spoke to the tutor and the owner, and the person said, "Yeah, I rescued her from this organization." So they were like siblings. So that was like so much so interesting like to see. And the poor things, they had the exact same traumas. They're afraid of motorbikes and thunder. Yeah, so
Mm.
just you spoke
Yeah.
about your daughter's like your dog's sister or sibling as well. Dean, I have one last question for you. Then, Joe, if you have any other questions to Dean as well. I'm sure that every rescue is special, but it's actually two questions in one. Do you have any idea of how many rescues you led? Is there any rescue story that made you think, yes, this is why we do this, this is why we
Mm.
have to make it work?
Right. Well, I gotta say, yes, I participate in these rescue flights and these rescue missions of working with veterinarians and educators and now the legislators, but there's a whole lot of people behind me that do all of this and make all of this possible. So it's just a fantastic group of people. I started the organization in 2019. I brought in a woman from the West Coast who heard about it through a mutual friend of ours, and she became a co-founder with me and runs the West Coast organization and has significant responsibilities in the organization. She's been expanding it out there. We have a veterinarian who's a flying dogter who leads all of the spay neuter clinic work. We've got people all over the place. A woman in Minnesota, two women in New York, actually three women in New York, one woman in Georgia, another guy out in the West Coast. Just a fantastic group of people that have all come together under the banner of Amelia Air in order to stop euthanasia in the United States. Only a few of us are pilots, and we have a lot of volunteer pilots that have done this. We've got a lot of other volunteers that do other things, like the veterinary clinics, like the education, like coordinating, like logistics and finance and all sorts of things, social media. So it's a great group of people. When you say there are rescue missions that sort of stick in my mind as maybe validating or worthwhile, unfortunately, it brings up a reminder of the incredible callousness and cruelty that people can inflict on animals. Um, we had uh, a chance to rescue a group of dogs from Louisiana through one of our volunteer pilots that was flying from Texas back to Virginia, where we're based now. Louisiana's on the way. So we stopped there, picked up, I can't remember how many, 20, 30 dogs. And the woman who had rescued them was she's also a very service-centered kind of person, service-oriented, service ethos. She works with the rescue, the shelters down there. She's also a volunteer police, volunteer firefighter, volunteer EMT, and she is fantastic. She discovered that there were dogs that were being left in one of the Louisiana bayous on an island with the intent of allowing the alligators to eat them because people didn't want their animals anymore. And instead of trying to figure out how to dispose of them in a humane way, they just said, hey, we'll just get our boat, put the dogs on the island, and leave them. And when she heard that, She said that can't happen. So she got her shotgun because she was a police officer, went out to the island, got a boat, and went out to the island and rescued 30 dogs. So that particular moment was when it solidified it in my mind that, okay, we are a very small part of this. We'd very much like to end that practice and all other practices that are what I believe is inhumane surrounding animals. And other people are in this fight as well. So I don't have to feel like this is an uphill battle, that there's nobody else that's going to support us. We get money pouring in fantastic amounts with social media posts. We stay away from posting too much negativity, but there are horrific stories out there. And sometimes they are combined with really heartwarming, rewarding stories. So we'd like to be a very big part of that rewarding story, that this makes it worth it. This is why we do this, because these animals get to have a full, beautiful life with wonderful families that actually care deeply about their animals in their life. They're part of the family. So the people who are contributing to us, the people who are helping. Joel has helped us with some of the technology challenges that we have as an entrepreneurial organization. Other people have helped us with all sorts of things, gathering money, getting the word out, communicating, doing the veterinary services, logistics. There's quite a list. So it makes it worth it very often because we get to see the results of the work a week, a month, a year later, when people send images and send stories and send videos of their animals saying, hey, you guys were a small cog in the wheel of this. My dog has a wonderful life. And we thank you for it. We love it. Great. We're so grateful to those people who do all of that work before and after we come into the picture and give those animals a great life.
That's amazing, Dean. Thank you for sharing that with us. One last thing, how can people help Amelia Air? How can people participate?
Sure. People can help us very plainly by going to ameliaair.org on the web. You can either search for it and go to the website, the Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and see things that we've done. If you want to help, there's donate buttons on the social media platforms. That's great. You can also help by going to your local rescue or shelter and saying, how can I help? If I've got time, if I've got interests, there are tons of things that can be done. You can foster animals because the shelters are massively overcrowded. You can help volunteer if you've got science or math or marketing or leadership skills, anything. All of these organizations need help, and we love to help them as well. A rising tide floats all boats. So anything you can do to help anywhere in the United States, the closer we get to our goal of going out of business and not having any more euthanasia in the United States.
That's awesome, Dean. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Hopefully, we can have you back to the podcast to talk about one of your other projects as well. And yeah, Joe, thank you as well.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you for being with us here. Thank you for letting us visit here and record our podcast. Thank you, Rodrigo. Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. And thank you all. Bye, everybody.
Thank you
Thank you
guys
all.
for listening to us. Bye.